Man, this movie looks visually awesome, plus the soundtrack backs it up. But does it live up to Tron Legacy? Does the storyline back it up? Mm, let's find out. Welcome, guys. Welcome to Buddies and Blockbusters. As you know, I'm your host, AJ, and we're here to review the one and only Tron Ares. Well, I have my black and red wrapped up to kind of match what Jared Leto is doing in the movie. Plus, I have my Cinemark cup here, which is pretty cool. And shout out to Cinemark because they actually had the light cycles there, and I got to sit on it, and they gave me a shout out as well. So appreciate that, Cinemark. It was definitely pretty cool. Now, initial reaction, honestly, you should expect this. This movie looks visually fantastic. Like the visual effects, cinematic stuff that's going on, plus the stuff from the grid and moving into the real world, the light cycles and all the other tanks and stuff like that. Everything was top notch. I mean, that's what you expect from a Tron movie, and that's what they delivered. Plus, the soundtrack backs it up end to end, whether it's the light cycles itself, the curves and turns. Music was basically in sync throughout the whole movie, and that gets you pumped up and super hyped because the coordination of the visual effects plus the soundtrack on point. And it's not Daft Punk. I really miss them, but it's done by 9 Inch Nails. There's a couple of tracks that was really banging and it was like you can groove to it. It's something that goes hand in hand with the Tron series. Now, personal opinion, I'm more of a fan of Daft Punk and what they did with Tron Legacy. That soundtrack with the Disney intro, it basically set the tone for that movie and it was just next level. Now, not to put down the soundtrack from 9 Inch Nails, it's still good. It's still a lot of bangers there. If you just asked me to choose, I would still prefer Daft Punk because I still listen to that. I still kind of vibe to those songs, especially End of the Line. It's just awesome. And overall, I had a good time. Now, there is definitely negatives here, and I think the main piece around the negatives is the storyline. It's because it's predictable. You know where this is going. It's not like a fresh take on something that's going to break the box office. But this movie is meant to be seen in the theater. Especially, I went to IMAX, and wow, those visual effects comes to light. So whether it's IMAX or 3D IMAX or Dolby, or maybe the D-Box seats that Cinemark has, I think if you go and experience it in one of those screens, you'll have a blast end to end. And for the most part, it was just a fun time. Cast and crew did their job as well. And truth be told, Jared Leto just looks amazing. I mean, even in this age, the fact that this dude looks like a badass at the initial phase when he's introduced, he's like a Terminator. But then he starts to become this humanistic kind of vibe. He delivers what is given to him from a script standpoint, and everybody else that surrounds him, you know, Greta Lee, who plays Eve, who has like equal amount of screen time as Jared Leto, they do a good job. Yes, we have a cameo that you've seen in the trailer. Jeff Bridges is there. It's just like a short, maybe a tiny bit extended cameo. That's about it. You have Evan Peters playing Julian Dillinger. I mean, for what was given to him as being this kind of antagonist, competitor, egoistic guy who just wants to be number one in the world, competing with Encom, that whole dynamic is good. And funny enough, you have Hassan Minaj playing the CEO, standing CEO of Encom. Yes, a brown dude being a CEO. I guess it's pretty realistic even in this day and age. The fact that he goes by AJ, I mean, maybe I need to put a trademark or copyright on him, right? Because his name in the movie is Ajay Singh. Yes, the first name can't be pronounced or something, so that they call him AJ. So I'm like, I'm gonna let it slide. But he did a good job at just being the CEO and there for the team. End to end, I think the cast delivered on what was given to them. I strongly believe it's the storyline, which is so predictable, and you would know where this is going. Yes, it picks up from where things were left. Now, keep in mind, Tron Legacy was 15 years ago, and before that, we also had the original back in the 80s. Those composers do play a role in this movie, and it's something that you need to know, but they do a good job in kind of recapping a couple of things, so you wouldn't miss out if you haven't watched the others. I must say, there was a lot of nostalgic moments. You know, I am from the CD era, but the fact that they showed floppy disks, the coding, and I mean, those were basic programming stuff going on there, and it was just such a good ride to go back in those couple of scenes where you get to see how things were back in the day. There's also a scene when Ares, Jared Leto, has the sync up with Jeff Bridges, and that's back in the 80s. So you have that bit rate in the grid. They basically showcase how it was back in the day. And that was just awesome. And it looks so good. I think that's what you're going to hear from a lot of reviewers is this movie just looks amazing. In terms of the story, that's the letdown, right? And the other piece is we are spending more time in the real world compared to the grid, because when you look at the other two parts, there's more time in the grid or there's like a balance between the two worlds. But here, more to do with, okay, we're going to get stuff from the grid to the real world and how it plays out. That's what you get even in the trailer, right? You have the light cycles, you have the tank, you have a lot of things happening in the real world, and that's what you see here. I personally prefer the world in the grid and to have that time there. So yeah, to me, it was just a fun watch. I mean, again, it's not the same director as well. It's directed by Joe H.M. Ronning. You know, everybody has a different vision and stuff like that. So you asked me to compare, I would obviously prefer Legacy. Now, by no means am I saying this is a bad movie, it's a bad experience. No, I had a great time because of the look and feel. And keep in mind, in terms of the time frame, it's literally a 1 hour and 59 minutes, like 2 hour on the dot movie. So it's nothing to do with the length. I feel it's all to do with the storyline. So for the folks who watched Tron Ares, what did you guys think? Where do you stack up this movie when you compare it to Tron Legacy as well as the original? To me, I've got to be biased. I love Legacy, but this was just a fun time. Let me know in the comments. And as always, guys, be sure to like, share, and subscribe.